Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the M365 FM podcast. Today, we are diving into one of the most exciting areas in Microsoft ecosystem. We hear a lot about Microsoft Copilot, AI agents, and autonomous systems. But how do it actually build enterprise-ready solutions that business can trust? What separates a cool demo from a production-ready AI solution? The answer to answer this question, I'm joining by someone who spent her days helping organizations make M365 secure, governed, and AI ready. Our guest is a Microsoft MVP, modern workplace consultant, international speaker, and an active contributor to the Microsoft PnP open source community. She is specialized in Microsoft 365 governance, SharePoint, Copilot Extensibility, Copilot Studio, and one of the hottest topic today, architecting multi-agent AI solutions. So please welcome Vishmi An.
Thank you for the kind introduction. I don't need to introduce myself anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome that you here. Can you a little bit tell us about you and especially your journey into Microsoft technologies?
Wow, that's been quite a long while since I started working at Microsoft Technologies back when I finished my degree. In while I was still in Mauritius, and it just happened. My first job was like a C sharp developer. Actually, not. It was VB.NET, VB.NET developer for by C sharp developer, and I've done a few on ERP systems at that time. And then when I moved to the UK, that's when I kind of stumbled onto SharePoint, um, and working. I was kind of working at a particular small company which is specialized in project server. And when you do project server online, it's kind of depends on having the SharePoint site and all the platform, the Active Directory at that time. Now it's all kind of changed. So I kind of had like from the old school, like on-prem, and then soon after there was like the Azure cloud, which was like again another era, another innovation, kind of everyone trying like to move onto the cloud. And yes, and then I kind of stayed onto that particular platform for nearly since I was like in the UK. So it's more like 15 years, 15, 16 years, seeing it all, building solutions on-prem and on the cloud. And now looking into how like to adopt the implement like all the AI functionality at big business, get the best out of the platform. So yes, it's been a very kind of evolving career in that space, never really static. And right now, it just feels quite overwhelming in the sense like things are changing so quickly, and to keep up, it just feels impossible, to be honest. Even when you try like to build solution, it's like you think like you get it right, and then suddenly you hear like, oh, they have like a new, completely new experience, a new interface, and it's just like, hmm. It's just a fun game. Or
Yeah,
like to keep all on your toes.
you have become known for helping organizations adopt Microsoft 365 responsibility, especially the topics governance and compliance. You are really famous for. What does for you responsibility adoption actually mean?
I would say yeah, security is very, very, very important. Even when you consider about Copilot rollout to be able like to do it securely, it's kind of simple just to turn. I mean, just switching it on. It's easy, but uh, like really really like to be able to do it in a secure, compliant way, so that you to prevent any data leakage. For example, like if you like Copilot, like how it is, it can easily, it will kind of um surface any data the end user have access to. But then if the data itself, it's not like properly, it has not, doesn't have like the right permissions, like following the least privilege uh, principle, it can kind of really put your organization at risk by surfacing all those data. So you need to have like a good platform hygiene in terms of ensuring like your, for example, your team channel SharePoint side have a correct security applied to them. And myself, I kind of wrote a lot of scripts to help others try like to find out if ever they have like the correct permissions, because one of the things which is quite hard with SharePoint still, when you have Copilot, is to be able like to find out like um on on the site like where um, if you want like to have like a full inventory of what permissions have been applied at the site, at the file level, at the folder level, at the library level, it's very hard out of the box. So I kind of contributed a lot of Power PnP PowerShell scripts to the PnP repository, and I know many users have reused those scripts to help to find out whether their tenant or the SharePoint site are secure. And it's quite nice like to receive a lot of messages like thank you, like that really help. But otherwise you do have like over like third party tools you could use, but it's not that means it's comes like additional costs. And you have SharePoint Advanced Management, but again, SharePoint Advanced Management, it can be a little bit in terms of customizations, it can be a little bit more limited. But if you know how to write some code and you have like the PnP PowerShell, you can do a lot which is based on your particular requirements. Yeah, so I would say yeah, permissions, but then you have like other things like using a purview just to be able like to audit, monitoring like usage um, of Copilot, of any particular AI tools in your organization. That's very important as well. And you can kind of really, what you want to protect is your sensitive data, and really like using Purview, you need to have to kind of put all those guardrails in place before you start running Copilot. That's what I would say. And it's the same like yeah, with the usage of AI and everything. Yeah, it's very important like to think security governance before trying like to go full speed onto deployment, onto production.
Yeah, that's cool. Um, when customers approach you today, what are their biggest concerns regarding AI?
I would say like it's kind of a general kind of concern that we've seen, because right now most people are aware like what is AI compared like to 1 or 2 years ago, and they're a bit more conscious. And when they come, they it's no longer about experimentations, but more about building solutions to solve like the particular problem. But of course, they still have like the concern, like knowing like the limitation of AI, about like the risk of inaccuracies, hallucinations, and again, it's about yeah the security risk, whether they are compliant as well. Is especially like I'm based in the UK, so there's a lot of of strict adherence like to EU AI Act or GDPR or HIPAA or SOC. So it's all those. And I think people are generally kind of they really think about the security and risk first before they try like to build like the AI solution. And I think the other one is sometimes depending on what they want to do, it doesn't mean like you actually needs to build the AI solution, needs to look at other ways like automation. If automation can fix the use case, why not go for automation? And why does it always needs to be an AI agent? So it's always like about the education and trying like to find like what's the best solution for the client.
Mm. Um, is AI, or especially Microsoft, they drop, I feel every day, some new updates or stuff. Um, how did you personally keep up? I'm a little bit overwhelmed actually.
I but fortunately I do follow great people on LinkedIn, I would say. And that's like the easiest way just to keep up to date because even like we had build, which was 3 weeks ago. But again, build was more focused on this time on the developer space, like on Foundry and GitHub, very much less on Copilot Studio. On the same week, they had like we released like a whole new experience, which became into preview, and then 1 week after it became into general availability. And really, it's like yeah, it's just like every day I'll go into LinkedIn and just like look at the feeds. I'll I'll post by people I followed, and that's like I kind of like, oh, what a new user interface, and now it's becoming the GA. And then 1 week after, again, a new interface became into back into preview, which was like quite of a relief. But at the same time, because I was presenting at a particular conference on Copilot Studio, and I was like, hmm, seems like whatever I'm presenting is already out of date. What shall I do? So I felt a little bit of pressure, like trying like to get up to speed, like to play like with a new interface and try like to get something built so I could demo, like showing the difference like between the old classic experience versus the new experience, especially when you talk about multi-agent architecture. It was like kind of quite because my session ex abstract had like showing like the difference between child agent and connected agent, and then when you're in experience, you don't have that concept of child agent anymore, and it's like but I have to still kind of explain it because all the documentation and a lot of the content videos would still kind of talk about it. So it's good just to show like the challenge and where it is like in a classic experience and the new experience. Like you don't have child agent anymore, but it's something different. You could use like skills, for example, to replicate some of the functionality, or even you could use like workflow. The workflow again, that's like another thing because you have like the workflow, which is a new way like instead of agent flow, which is a classic flow, and then you have the new flow, which is a workflow again, which is kind of a different thing. And then within the workflow, what you could do, you can have like inline agents, which is completely different. Inline agents where you can, it's kind of similar concept to chat agent because it will follow the same life cycle of a workflow, but then it's not that reusable. So yeah, so it's kind of it's it's um it's hard. It can be quite stressful as well, but we do our best and like to just do whatever we can, and just like getting help like from others to share their knowledge, which is very important, especially in the AI age where everything is changing so quickly, just to keep
Mhm.
up.
Yeah,
And thank you to Mooney.
who was on these amazing events like the Microsoft build. What surprised you most about Microsoft's AI strategy actually?
Um, I think the way uh, like one of the announcement was around the Scout,
Hmm.
which was the new what they call autopilot, which is again which is quite not surprising, but it's quite like interesting because they used to talk about Copilot being the UI for AI for the Microsoft platform, and we keep when we try to explain Copilot, we say it's Copilot and not Autopilot, and then suddenly now we have Autopilot. So again, it's something, yeah, and it's Scout. It's meant like how like Microsoft position it is like for everyone like to use in a way to Copilot, and it's running like in the background as your personal assistant, keeping tracking everything that you're doing, and helping with all your tasks like in the background. I personally didn't try it, but it's something which is powered by the OpenClaw, but it has like all the guardrails in place, like in Microsoft they showed like the demo where someone tried to ask the pilot to clean up like the whole desktop, but that of course it just it kind of didn't work. So it's kind of it's going like to work within the certain boundary, but of course yeah, you can't really, you need to have like a Intune enabled device and the GitHub Enterprise. Um, yeah, it will be quite good to see like the evolution, like when people like using it and try like to comment like on any particular concern that they could have. Yeah, so that was kind of the Scouts, and the other one, which was quite interesting, was around Microsoft having their own models, language models. I don't know how I like to pronounce it. My that possibly my yeah, all the different languages, which was again looking forward like to be able like to use them, because the way that Microsoft is moving is more like especially in terms of billing. When you look at GitHub Copilot, and now with Copilot Studio as well, a lot kind of change like to be consumption based billing instead of having like one license for everything. So based on the consumption, your costs will kind of vary. So again, it's something like keeping an eye on. It's quite easy when it was just like the M365 Copilot license, one fixed fee, but now you have to be a bit more careful related to that. So I'm hoping like with the Microsoft language models, it will be a little bit cheaper to run those models, hopefully, and we'll have like to reduce some of the costs. So, of course, before picking any model, you need to do your own evaluation whether that's like the best options like to choose for your use case. And it's always tricky because even like in Foundry, it's quite overwhelming when you think there's like 11,000 on models. And where in Foundry, they do have like something like to allow you to evaluate the models based on certain benchmarking. But again, like trying like to know whether that's the best model like to use, it's um it's tricky, I would say. Yeah,
Um,
there are loads of announcements from Build as well. Just can keep going on. We'll take the whole session.
and yeah, if someone asks you, "We want Copilot," what's the first question you yeah will ask them?
Um, if they want a Copilot, I know a lot of it is kind of being driven by by what like over what's happening like in the market, and everyone wants like to be on the lead, or not in the lead, but at least like not to feel like they are falling behind, and try like to keep up, and try like to kind of embrace it. I would say that's a good decision that they try like to to go on and onboard Copilot for end users because of all the benefits that it provides. But again, what we could see is a lot of organizations is not like really ready like just to roll out Copilot yet. It could be because they are like still on Prime, like on a non-legacy platform, which doesn't really support Copilot. And really, the first thing would be like to move the whole like the platform that they have. Of course, it's kind of a lengthy process onto the M365 and of course setting all like the boundaries, the guardrails around so that they can use Copilot safely before we actually roll out Copilot. So yeah, so the first thing would be defining out whether the client is ready for it, and then you have to go like for a readiness kind of workshop, trying to see where they are at and just help in that journey.
Yeah. What would you say is it's a Copilot or AI rollout more an IT project, or is it more a business transformation initiative?
I would say it has to be a whole business transformation initiative rather than being IT led because the people know their tasks. They will be able like to set up the benchmark, even it's like trying like to identify like the return on investment. It's like the business people would be better equipped to make all those assessments rather than the IT person. And and really, it's everyone will have to be on board and trained to get like the best out of Copilot. And the IT of there just as yeah as someone like who's going like to support like the rollout and support the business and yeah and just help out. But yeah, it's all like a business, and really we need to have like the leadership buying as well, who believes in it like all in all its potential and trying like to yeah to kind of drive it.
Yeah. Um, let's move into one of your specialty. Um, yeah, it's Copilot extensibility. What are the exactly is this mean?
Okay, so Copilot is whatever Microsoft provides out of the box. So it could be like anything which you see like on the M365 Copilot chat, on SharePoint. It could be like in your apps, Outlook, everywhere. And then you have what used to be called like maybe 1 year ago, 2 years ago, custom Copilot. And now it's been called like agents. So Copilot Extensibility is around really like building agents. And yeah, I know the terminology is a bit different when you talk of Copilot or agent, but it's kind of the same. And it can be like anything custom. Either you build like using Agent Builder,
Mhm.
which is kind of simple from the M365 Copilot, or you can have like from SharePoint as well, where you can create like SharePoint agents, quite like simple use case, like which can be done by any end user just about just using a little bit of prompting and they can build something. And why you want like to build like agent instead of using the chat is because you have like a reusable prompt, but you know like if you kind of typing the same prompt over and over again like to get the same output. For example, you want like a weekly report, you might want like to build an agent for that. It can be as simple as a SharePoint agent. I like to do a report if all your data is already in SharePoint. Or you can have Copilot Studio as well, which is more like towards the low code power, the maker, the citizen developments. But again, it's a little bit. I won't say it's like completely low code because it can have it can get a little bit more complex with code when you use connectors, and now with a new experience, you have skills. In skills, you can have inbuilt scripts, Python scripts, and as well, when you look at some anthropic skills, they have a lot of references to to other kind of script files like JavaScript or Python or something. So it can be quite complex, even if you say Copilot Studio being low code doesn't always have to be. And you have another one which doesn't get talk very a lot is the Agents Toolkit. Agents Toolkit is an extension within VS Code which allows you to build like the declarative agent. And that means like declarative agent in that sense is the agent will use the same orchestrator which Copilot use. But again, you can bring your own instructions. You can bring your own like um, plugins. So on CP servers, you can do quite a lot with Agents Toolkit. And then if you go towards a pro code options, you have Azure Foundry, and you can use like other options like the line change, the Microsoft Agent Framework, and it's just like your imagination is your limit really, and you can't in when you go towards that level. You're choosing like your own model because with Copilot you're kind of restricted with unlimited models that are provided onto the platform. Where you go with Foundry, you can leverage the thousand of you can pick any of the module, and as well as you can build your own orchestration using the LangChain or the Microsoft Agent Framework. Yeah, so it's quite a lot. So the Copilot Extensibility again, it's a very uh, huge, broad platform, and you just kind of need to know like when to use which depending on the use case.
Mm. And what role does Microsoft Graph plays?
Yes, Microsoft Graph. One of the thing is um it's free to make a call like REST API call to Microsoft Graph. And like within Copilot Studio, or if you use Agents Toolkit, or even if you, I'm not so sure of Foundry, but I'm pretty sure there should be a way of connecting to Microsoft Graph through connectors or plugins in Agents Toolkit. But one of the thing what Microsoft kind of announced in Microsoft Ignite last year was about the IQ, all the different types of IQ, the work IQ, fabric IQ, and the foundry IQ, lots of IQ. And during build this 3 weeks ago, they announced like the web IQ and the Microsoft IQ, which kind of encompass all of it. The Microsoft Graph is still very important because when you look at the work IQ and all like the endpoints which are available, it doesn't give you the full spectrum to be able like to do everything you want. So Microsoft Graph in there is a little bit more rich in terms of the endpoints it provide. But still, I would say Microsoft Graph doesn't do everything because a
Mm,
lot of times when I have to do something quite specific, I still need to rely on the SharePoint REST API or the CSOM, like back on the days, the client side object model. I know it's very old school, but it's good like to still know the foundation and how everything is kind of stack and work together. But of course, like the model is everything towards the MCP and Work IQ do provide ready available MCP, which to do quite a lot of different things. But again, it's just depends on what you actually wants to do. It might not always be feasible to just rely on Work IQ, MCP, or Microsoft Graph. You still need to know about SharePoint REST API and see some. Unfortunately, it is like it is. Like it's only like this year, for example, Microsoft Graph had an endpoint to create SharePoint site, and you're just like thinking like, "Whoa, that should be like from ages ago," but it's still very slow, like to catch up. And a lot of the thing probably get released in the REST API or CSOM first before it gets added to the Microsoft Graph or probably to like IQ. But we'll see how things evolve. But it's always good to know um, all the possible uh, all the possible routes that you may have like, to build a customization.
Yeah, actually, when I go into LinkedIn, there's it's one topic I come my timeline is completely flooded with. It's multi-agent solutions. So what is a multi-agent system? Um,
So it's having like you think like a team of people, each one each one is specialized in their specific domain knowledge and able like to do certain activities. It's similar way like thinking because one particular person can't know everything, can't do everything. So trying like to build a multi-agent solutions will helps towards getting like a more accurate and more performance solution. Because imagine if you're building one agent which does everything in your organization from IT, sales, marketing, and then you cannot equip it with all the different tools, but it needs to be able to do those and the knowledge as well, lot of different knowledge. Your agent is going to struggle to be able to reason to find like the correct route of actions that it needs to do for a particular task because it has like to enumerate through all the different tools, all the different knowledge, and sometimes it may be confused if the knowledge or the tools names have similar name or not the same name but kind of almost a similar name. So it can be quite hard. So having like smaller agent just specialized like in its specific knowledge with a subset of tools, subset of knowledge, subset of instructions, much less, it's going like to perform better. And then what when you do multi-agent solutions, one of the thing is you'll need like to think of the orchestrator or parent agents. So you will have to have like like if you consider like with a team of people, you might have like a manager or a team leader who kind of delegate the jobs to its team members. So similarly, you have to think of a parent agent, orchestrator agent, and then based like on intent of the user, it will kind of determine which agent that to trigger. And your parent doesn't needs to be very kind of it doesn't need to be that very loaded with loads of instructions because the child agents will or the connected agents will have like everything it needs to do once it gets triggered. So your parent agent will be there just to orchestrate like when each of the connected agents gets triggered and then everything sorry will get kind of executed in uh, as per the instructions of a connected agent. So yes, so the advantages of having like a multi-agent solutions would allow you to scale and have like more accurate results. And as well as it's easier to maintain, to test because it's smaller, just with a few instructions, tools, knowledge. So it's kind of easier like to test as well. And if you think like in terms of plug and play, if something you think like an agent is not doing as it is, you can take it out and you can put another agent in easily. And in terms of multi-agent architecture, it's not only about only on the same platform. So if you consider like Copilot Studio, you can connect cross-platform as well. For example, you could have like agent like in Fabric, which is like on the platform. Someone already built that agent, and instead of rebuilding it, you can easily create a connection to that Fabric agent. It's similarly like you could have like agent hosted in Microsoft Foundry, and from Copilot Studio, you can create a connection to that Azure Foundry. So, like having a multi-agent architecture, it allows like to bring to kind of make use of to bring all of like the agent across different platform like working together, because you might have different reasons why you want to have like something quite specific in Foundry, doing some quite complex tasks. For example, let's say for insurance claim kind of scenario. So the back end, you might want to do like to have an agent to detect fraud, for example. So you might be using like something in Foundry, which is like a different model, which is not readily available in Copilot, and then from Copilot Studio, where you do have the capability to select your model, but the um, the the list is quite still limited. So you have to think. So probably like you might want to build an agent like on different platform, even like on the on M365 Copilot chat using Agent Builder. So you'll have like different agents built on different platforms, but you want like to bring all together. The multi-agent architecture kind of help as well in that particular instance.
Mm. Um, one topic is also when we talk about agents is autonomy. How much autonomy should an enterprise agent receive from your perspective?
Yeah, that's like another it depends on like on the use case, I would say. For example, one simple use case is like if an email is received into email inbox, to kind of process that email. For example, if you think of a support desk system, you might want to have an agent like to go for inbox and do like a triage to see what to determine like the severity, or like which teams needs to handle it, and to assign it to that particular team, and as just determining the time that it will take to kind of process that particular request, and to send like the outcome or response back to the user who raised that particular who sent the email initially. So it depends on use case. So this is kind of an example of autonomy, like it gets triggers whenever email is received. So you could have like other triggers, like for example, on your SharePoint list, for example, you might have like another application, which, for example, if someone sent, let's say, submit like a receipt for travel expense, for example, and then once it's submitted to your database, which could be SharePoint or it could be anything else, and then have a trigger which creates like an approval task for someone to be able like to approve it, or you can even have like be to approve it as well, depending like if a request meets all your travel expense policy document, and yeah, why not, it can be like to approve as well. So you could have an agent which does it, and then the payments get triggered and sent to the user who raised the travel expense. And of course, if it's a little bit more, if it doesn't meet the travel expense policy, then someone will have to manually review and try to find out what is happening and try to ask for response. So it helps to save a lot of time, like right from the by reducing the amount of work. Like if someone has to go and approve every one of them, well, approval requests will be reduced on that particular person because we have an agent which does it. But of course, you have to define the guardrails and the boundaries under which it can automatically do the approval. So it does have like its use case for autonomy, but of course, everything would have to be assessed about its usefulness.
Mm. And another topic when we talk about multi-agents, it's the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. What's is it, and what is the difference, I say, to a microservice or to an API?
I would say like MCP, it's kind of a wrapper around like all like the different APIs. Like for example, I mentioned about the Work IQ MCP, which is provided by Microsoft out of the box, so you don't have to build your own MCP if you want to utilize it. Of course, if you do have like um another application which doesn't have like its MCP yet, your custom application, you can build your own MCP server for it. Um, it allows one of the advantage of using MCP is it has a lot of different tools readily available so that you can instead of you creating like for example if you look at Copilot Studio, if you have different APIs, so you'll have to create different connections, independent, okay, not independent, but like a custom connector to API call, and then define all your security boundaries. But if you use MCP, Microsoft IQ MCP, for example, let's say Outlook, uh, I'm not sure, Work IQ, email MCP, I think it's called email MCP, or it could be something else. So it does give you a lot of tools ready to be used, so you can tap in easily onto those. So it kind of make it a bit easier for the developer who's building the solution to leverage NCP instead of API. Um, but the only thing I would say, because MCP has can brings a lot of noise into your applications in terms of one MCP like can have like 10 to 20 or 30 tools. It can create some noise. So again, I would say on that instance, ensure that you only enable the tool within MCP that you actually want your agents to be able to do. For example, if you have like the email MCP, if you want your agents to use it to send email, you want to disable everything like read email or to delete email. You want to disable it onto your NCP tools so that your agents it's allowed has only access to the tools it needs to do its work. So it's something like just to be aware of.
Mm. I think a little bit now everyone can build their multi agent systems, but what implication had this on? Yeah, I think there are kind of new employees everyone had. What roles does identity or Entra ID play, and what role does governance, especially peer view, become in these systems?
Yeah, I would say like especially like since Ignite last year, Microsoft announced like the Agent 365. And now uh it became into GA now, I think this month, or 3 weeks ago. Which is really, really interesting. So the agent 365 will help like to solve some of the concern that users have related to governing the agent. You know exactly what they are doing, what data they have access to, and they have like their own identity which you can kind of control similar way like to a user having an identity controlling access to data, even block agent in even like in Entra ID as well. because in Entra ID you will see the agent similar way. So you see like a user, and you can kind of have a little bit more control now. Like without Agent 365, it's going to be harder, and the Agent 365 is integrated like with Purview, Defender, the Entra ID, all like the tools that you need, like to be able like to see, um, to have like one source of truth, one control pane where you can do all those things. So again, and then based on what what is happening, you can take actions that you cannot protect your data to prevent leakage, extra. So yeah, so identity and governance, that was something which was announced again, I think, in last year, which is like really take it a big leap forward into ensuring like everyone or we are building like agents which are secure and scalable.
And what role does a meta play or suddenly play actually in this agent world?
Sorry, repeat the question again.
Uh, yeah, what role does metadata suddenly play in this agent world?
Yeah, that was something which was a little bit a miss, I think, right from the beginning, where like especially on Copilot, it will be able like to reason on the contents of a file, but not actually take into account like the metadata which are assigned to the file, like all your content types or any custom columns you might have onto your libraries or list. But metadata do play a very good um, um, it does it's very important because that's how like we use search, and that's how like right from the beginning, especially with the rollout of M365 or SharePoint, having like a strong information architecture is something like we always advise the client, and the metadata, content type, taxonomy, and everything are very important. And then with the Copilot, when it was seems like to be ignoring those, but I think now I didn't try with Copilot, but I need to try to see it. But definitely, like now you have like Copilot in SharePoint, which used to be called AI in SharePoint. Previously, it used to be called Knowledge Agent, and before that it was called Syntax. It has lots of different names. We don't know what's going to be called in the future. It's very powerful. It does reason on metadata. For example, if you have a list of invoice and you ask it to provide you a sum of um, of all like the invoice which happened the last week, it does quite a good job like to reason on those metadata and to give you a good response. It's getting better, so maybe not always give you the most accurate answer, but always check. But it's improving. But again, in terms of metadata, I'm not so sure like how it does it. But the way I get around it is using Azure AI Search. So using Azure AI Search, you can create a connections to your SharePoint library. And within that, you can define the metadata you want the Azure AI Search to capture, to reason on. And you can and then you can connect the Azure AI Search to your Copilot Studio, and you can ask questions on those metadata, and it will reason on those. So that's a way, like a workaround I found, like getting the metadata details. But of course, there might be other ways now, but we have to see, or even like out of the box. I'm not so sure, but that's something that metadata is very important.
Yeah. And information architecture. A lot of companies, I think, it's yeah, it's the fat boy on a football game that's sitting outside all the time. Is information architecture now becoming yeah, a superhero?
I would say Um, yes, it's still relevant, and it's still like the backbone of your uh, of your document management system. if ever you're moving, because otherwise it'll become difficult for users to query, to search, and it will become kind of a big mess. So it's better, like even before like starting, just put in place like a strong information architecture, and it will eventually help your AI and Copilot in the ultimately whenever the metadata are are kind of being indexed within the Copilot, but we'll see about that. But it's still for now. There's still ways like you can kind of make sure you're utilizing your strong IA framework or design that you put in place. So keep a focus on I, which is very important.
Awesome. So, oh, we're running a little bit out of time, I see. Yeah, I have in every interview, I do a quick fire round. So I ask a short question and you say what comes in your mind. So my first one is what's your favorite SharePoint feature?
Sorry, SharePoint?
What's your favorite SharePoint feature?
Oh, SharePoint feature. Oh, I think I'm enjoying the Copilot in SharePoint because it's even if it's new, it's kind of take it to another level in terms of what she can do. For the last Chevron hackathon, I've used it a lot, like to do a lot of the manual stuff I would do, like creating the libraries, creating the column, creating the list, like even like generating test data, and even to do to add skills to Copilot in SharePoint to be able, for example, like to generate a report based on the data that I have. I know it's just a demo, but the potential is great. But again, I would say use it responsibly because again, Copilot SharePoint, you can easily kind of create a lot of chaos as well if not used properly.
Yeah, RAM gets very expensive, and you get a new laptop, and it's only can run one Microsoft technology. Which one should it be on your laptop?
Um, I would say Teams, mainly because it's a way that I can easily do calls to other people. I do have Zoom as well sometimes because depending on what people like to kind of the preferred methods of communication, but I think Teams is the one which I use the most as like the external collaboration. So I'll still like to have it.
Yeah. And Satya Nadella comes to you today and say, "I give you unlimited engineering resources, money, and so on, for one feature. What will you build?"
Oh my god, that sounds like very interesting. I would say one of the pain points that of customers I can see is having like a strong like governance tool, even like Microsoft is trying to plug the gap like with SharePoint and that's management, Agent 365, but still doesn't do everything you want because the clients might have like really, really custom requirements that they want like to be able like to police. For example, a user created a lot of libraries which doesn't have like the correct metadata or something. That could be like a simple use case. But again, is I would say like to build like a strong like governance policing agent to help clients do a better job to manage their tenant.
Mm, Azure AI Foundry or Copilot Studio?
Um, not everything needs to be an agent, to be honest. Because one of the thing about having like a strong governance of policing agent is be able to access those signals and data, which is not uh, you don't really have readily available. So you need to use a little bit of automation in the background to get all this data, put it somewhere as a central pool on information and have your agent reason over it. So I would say it would be a combination of both, like automation and AI. It could be perhaps in Foundry or Copilot Studio, because one of the things I like to differentiate between Copilot Studio and Foundry is perhaps if you use Copilot Studio, most potentially you will reach like a limit where you can't do anything beyond, and you might have to switch to Foundry.
Yeah. When I think people come to you to the UK, what should they eat? What's the best food there?
That's very interesting because it all depends. Like I think I live in London, so it's very multicultural. So you can get cuisine from all over the world, like Chinese, Italian, Vietnamese, South African, European, French. It's like you're kind of very pampered. So it all depends, like on what they would like to try. But I know like fish and chips are very popular, and the like again burgers, hot dogs. But again, that's something very American. But yeah, so I would say it depends on what the person wants to try, and yeah, London is a good place, like to find anything you want. You don't need to go to any other country. You can try Italian, you can try Chinese, you can try
Mm,
French, anything.
yeah, the last time I have the I was in the UK, I got haggis.
That's when you go to Scotland. Yeah, possibly in London also there might be places where you can get haggis. I won't say like you don't get haggis in London, but potentially yes. Yeah, I've never Um, I don't know. I just like I never felt brave enough to try it yet when I
Mm,
went to Scotland, because they do have it as part of the breakfast menu. Like if you go and stay in a Scottish hotel,
yeah,
you do have it, and you're just like, oh, I need to
yeah,
be brave. It's what to encourage me to do it.
yeah, but I say, I was the more lucky guy because my daughter had, see this black pudding, and she has tried this. She don't eat it. Yeah, um so, um, uh, when you did deploying Copilot in the company, what drink? Coffee, tea, or Red Bull?
I would say tea, because I don't really drink much coffee or Red Bull, so just like I just have go with water. Just keep hydrated, I would say. Yes. But I think, the switching on Copilot is the easiest. It's just like trying to get ready for a rollout, which is a little bit more painful, a little bit more hard work to do.
Cool. Then my last question is, yeah, you do a lot of community contributions. What is the where you most proud of?
I would say since like October last year, I was invited to be part of a maintenance team for PnP PowerShell. So I've been contributing to PnP PowerShell in terms of script samples, as well as um, adding new commandlets for quite a few years now, and to be able like to be part of a maintaining team, to be quite close. It's something I'm forever grateful, like to Gotham, Said, who invited me to be part of a maintaining team, and to be able like to work like with Owen, which is a father of PnP PowerShell, and Kun. It's just incredible experience. and we're just like fantastic. I look forward to each or our bi-weekly meeting where we catch up, which is yeah, it's something I'm really proud of.
Yeah, then thank you, Rishmi, for being here and spend the time with me and share all the insights. I really enjoyed this conversation because we moved beyond the hype and into the real engineering challenge of enterprise AI. Here we explore governance, Copilot extensibility, multi-agent architecture, graph, and a little bit security and compliance topics. So yeah, I think yeah, there was a lot of big takeaways for the listeners, and yeah, thank you for being here. And yeah, I hope I see you in next time in another episode.
Thank you so much for having me as well. It's been brilliant talking to you.